Hello everyone, Bo here. Welcome back. Junk from the Trunk, episode 3. Mixing it up a little bit today. Today I'm going to talk about my favorite television western of all time. And it is Have Gun Will Travel, which ran on CBS from 1957 to 1963, before my time. I discovered this in syndication on H&I. Now, when I was a kid, my dad used to watch all these old westerns in syndication. And some of the ones that were actually on the air too, like Alias Smith and Jones or The Virginian, I think it was called The Men from Shiloh in those days. But this show was not ever on in syndication. I'd heard somewhere it's because it was kind of tied up in litigation with a bronc rider who thought that maybe they'd kind of stolen his image. But I don't know, anyhow. That's neither here nor there. Anyhow, it was on CBS from 1957 to 1963. In its heyday, it was not just the most popular Western on TV, but it was the third most popular show on all of television back then, when a lot more people were watching TV back then. And that really meant something. Starred Richard Boone in the lead role as Paladin. I heard somewhere initially it was offered to Jack Lord, and Jack Lord turned it down. Jack Lord does appear in the very first episode. Some things that really set this show apart from the other Westerns of the era, the people associated with it. Ida Lupino directed a lot of the episodes, one of the first female directors in Hollywood. Gene Roddenberry wrote many episodes. He later created Star Trek. A guy named Harry Julian Fink wrote my favorite episodes. Real gritty, real hard-hitting kind of first-time episodes. He later helped create the character Dirty Harry Callahan. So some really interesting people that not just your... There was a core group of actors that appeared on a lot of those old shows back then. People like Jack Elam or Harold J. Stone, Robert Wilkie, people like that. That fine character actors that really helped carry shows like this. But Richard Boone also, they had all kinds of other kinds of guest stars on the show. Charles Bronson, I can remember Robert Conrad, Mike Connors, Peter Falk, and some people that were musicians, Dwayne Eddy, Odetta, who was a very popular folk singer, in a very gritty episode about race. Singing in the Sunshine, Gail Garnett, she was in it. Other things that helped set this show apart that was different is he was a West Point graduate. He served with the Union in the Civil War. And back then, there was a romanticism of the Confederacy, so a lot of the television heroes, they fought for the Confederacy during the Civil War. But he was a Union officer. He could quote scripture. He could quote law. He quoted the great philosophers and all the great authors of the time in some really interesting ways. Very smart guy. He was a gun for hire, but he wasn't a killer. And he would explain that to people all the time, that I will solve this problem in my own way. A lot of times he had to resort to the gun, but that's not the intent when he started. And what I like about it too, he wasn't always the fastest. There were several episodes where it was explained that you got to be fast and accurate. So, outdrawn a couple of times. There was one guy with this guy Tuttle that they never even drew down on each other because another guy killed Tuttle. They didn't want to fight each other, but because of the machismo of the time, they felt like they had to do it anyhow. Have Gun Will Travel, my favorite. Excellent show. I got this at Walmart. I think it was like $29, the whole series. If you're not interested in buying the series, I know that it's in syndication. It's on H&I and it's on MeTV as well. I'll show you some of the other stuff I've got. Now, Topps, speaking of cards, I do have some cards in this. The Topps Company in 1958 put out a gunfighter or television series. So, and several different shows. I think there's 66 cards in the set. There's 7 that belong to Have Gun Will Travel. I only own 2. These are the 2. As you can see, it says on the back to watch Have Gun Will Travel on CBS, and it tells you when it's on. Some interesting little facts about the show. Richard Boone right there. Richard Boone, when he was doing Western movies, and other types of stuff, he generally played villains or bad guys. He was in the last John Wayne movie, The Shootist. He was one of the attempted killers. This is something I got, and I don't know what this is, because this isn't really a publicity still, because it's on really cheap cardboard. When I was a kid, you could buy these wallets, and sometimes they would include these facsimile kind of shots, and it's got a facsimile autograph that's not actually autographed. that they would include, but they were generally smaller, like they'd fit like the little 8x10s. So this is or this would be an 8x10. More the wallet size, whatever that is. But anyhow, so I don't even know where I got this, but Richard Boone, I found that. This is a wallet I got, and I used to carry this, but it's really kind of plasticky. It's not really leather. There's Richard Boone, of course, and there's the chest knight of silver. It is his badge of trust, and it's got the thing to put your pictures in. It's got a little coin thing. I carried this at one time because as you can see from behind me, I'm also a record guy. I took this with me to a record show. I thought, oh, this will get some comments. Not one person commented, and it's kind of fragile, so I just display it. So that's another piece I have. I don't have a lot, but I have a few things. I was going to show this last, but I'll show it next just because I'm afraid it's going to pitch over. Hartland, back in the day, the Hartland company put out, in the 50s and 60s, put out sports figures. They also put out horse and rider sets. There were two kinds of, it was either a series 5 or 600, I can't remember, depending on the size. And then these are the series 800, horse and rider. This is Richard Boone as Paladin. It's got his original rifle, his original pistol, which as you can see is well balanced, as they would say in the show. And he's got a little silver chest knight on his hat. It's worn. I do not have the box. It does not have the original tag. And I've got one other figure that I'll show eventually. In fact, you can probably see it right there, Cheyenne. I like to get more of these. They came in 2 series. Like I said, there was Horse and Rider. There's also the Gunfighter series. So I'd like to get Johnny Yuma from the Rebel, which was Nick Adams. I'd like to get Hobie Gilman from Trackdown, which was Robert Culp. Josh Randall from Wanted Dead or Alive. These are all horse and riders. Which is played by Steve McQueen, who's actually my favorite actor of all time. And then I'd also like to get it's the Gunfighter though series. So there's no horse. It's just the man, and it's more posable, more flexible. It's John Russell as Marshal Dan Troop from oh God, what was his Western called? But anyhow, I like that one a lot. I'm just drawing a Lawman. I like to get the Lawman Lunchbox too. As you can see, I've got some Lunchbox. We'll go over all this stuff in time. Last thing I'll show, and then, of course, as with all of my Lunchboxes, I used to use this for a while too. I don't have any of the thermoses, and these are in really rough shape. But, I'm not an investor. I'm a collector. The price is right on these things, so I pick them up where I can if the price is right. Because it's about memories to me. It's about displaying things and about memories. The card, Wire Paladin. People used to think his first name was Wire. Well, his first name is Wire. Anyhow, the Have Gun Will Travel Lunchbox from 62 or 63, I do believe. But anyhow, so that's it. That's my collection of Have Gun Will Travel. We'll see you next time. In a week, we'll have another. I'm probably going to talk about we'll go back to sports. I'm going to talk about the old American Basketball Association, and I'll show some of the memorabilia I have. So we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.